AFTV Transfer Daily, the show that keeps you up to date with players that have been linked with a January transfer move to Arsenal.
Hi and welcome along to AFTV Transfer Daily, the show that keeps you up to date with players that have been linked with a January transfer move to Arsenal. Show brought to you today by Final One Stand-In by William Hill. Don't forget how the game works. If you want to play, free to play, all you got to do is pick a team to win. If your team wins, you go through to the next round. If you lose or draw, you are out. Lots of payouts over the past few weeks. There was a payout this week, and they paid out over £1 million. If you would like to enter, the link is in the description. Terms and conditions apply. You have to be over 18, based in the UK and Ireland only, and T's and C's apply. All the information in the link below. We're here today, the day after that boring, I never thought it'd be like that, that boring 0-0 draw against Liverpool. You know what? I was thinking to myself, coming out of the game last night, thinking to myself, what was that? I thought this was going to be an attacking, entertaining game, end-to-end, like what we always do when we play against Liverpool. We never get a 0-0 draw against Liverpool. However, I forgot that this is not the same Liverpool that we've been watching over the last season and the past seasons before that. They came obviously looking for a draw. They put everybody behind the ball, and the emphasis was on us because we were playing at home. We couldn't break them down, and we were pretty poor, Arsenal, on the night. You know what I mean? Another bad night for Victor Gyökeres. Lots of players really, really ineffective for Arsenal, and it's a big anti-climax because, and a missed opportunity for Arsenal because we could have went 8 points clear. However, 6 points clear, I ain't going to argue with that. A couple of weeks ago, we were only 2 points clear. A lot of people saying that, we've blown it, etc., etc. When you think about it, we've come out of the Christmas period very well, 6 points clear. So looked like it was a game that caught up on us. We looked so lackluster, but 6 points clear, I will certainly take that. And it was, by the way, all this furore about Martinelli. Listen, he was wrong to push Bradley off the pitch. He obviously didn't know how injured he was. He has since apologized for it, but we have seen this done to Arsenal players, and weren't there a big kick up on it. I remember Maxime Lacroix doing a similar thing. Listen, in the heat of the battle, these things happen. But there was an interesting stat as well that I saw around yesterday's game, before yesterday's game, and this stat said that Arsenal have played 9 different defensive combinations in the last 10 Premier League games. In the first 10 Premier League games, we only changed it up 3 times. 9 different combinations in the last 10 games. And last night, another injury, Piero Hincapié coming off. So that's another player out. I mean, imagine if we hadn't brought in those defensive players. We would have been nowhere near the top of the league right now. And it just goes to show our strength in depth in those defensive areas. And hence why Arsenal constantly looking to strengthen the defense. And the big rumor that's flying around today, and it was, sort of put out there yesterday in a big way, was about Marc Guéhi of Crystal Palace. I said it a couple of weeks ago, well, 9 days ago, when we first started doing Transfer Daily. I said that there's big rumors linking Marc Guéhi with a move to Arsenal. A lot of people said no. I remember I heard it again off of our top source, Marty. Big up to Marty. Marty said that he'd heard that Arsenal are very, very interested in signing Marc Guéhi. And at the time, a lot of people saying, well, why? Where would he play? What he's a centre-back. We've already got Saliba. We've got, Gabriel. Why do we need him? I think we've seen with the amount of injuries we got that we could always do with cover. But Marty said it, and I remember Marty was the one at the time who said to me, Robbie, we're definitely going to get Eberici Eze. That was even when it looked, for all intents and purposes, definitely going to Spurs. And Marty said, no, I've got a very good source says we're definitely going to get Eze, and we did. So could Marty be getting it right again with this one? David Ornstein and John Cross from the Mirror yesterday, both going very big with this story about Marc Guéhi and the possibility that he could make a move to Arsenal. Now, we know that Crystal Palace would like to sell Marc Guéhi this January transfer window. We know that Manchester City would like to buy Marc Guéhi this transfer window. They've got a bit of an injury crisis at the moment in the centre-back position. Ruben Diaz is out. We know that, John Stones has been out for them, and they've suffered an injury to Josko Gvardiol that could keep him out till the end of the season. So they're very interested in Marc Guéhi as well. Liverpool, who we played last night, they've shown a long-term interest in Marc Guéhi. But will Marc Guéhi move this January transfer window? As I said, Palace want him to go, not because they don't think he's a great player, he's the club captain, but because they want to get some money for him. In the summer, he walks away for free. Absolutely free in the summer. So that's why Palace would rather him go now. Marc Guéhi himself is said to be relaxed about the situation. Remember, when a player leaves a club for free, he gets to, get a big signing on fee from the club that buys him. So financially, it would be good for Marc Guéhi. If Marc Guéhi stays at Palace and is playing week in, week out, it's an easier path for him to get into the England team, which he desperately wants to do this summer. He's already sort of a fixture in that position, but playing week in, week out secures him that position. And also he has a choice of more clubs. He could go City if he wants. He can go to Bayern, Liverpool, Madrid, all those teams who want him. And of course, Arsenal, who have said to Marc Guéhi, we want you in the summer. But could Arsenal accelerate that move to January if it looks like they may lose out on him? This is going to be a very intriguing one for the rest of this January transfer window. Arsenal would favour a move for Marc Guéhi in the summer where they get him on a free. Marc Guéhi is said to really be interested in a move to Arsenal. Remember, when they played Arsenal a few weeks ago, there was a lot of people saying, well, how comes he was so ally-pally with like all of the Arsenal players? You remember he was in big conversation with Eze, with loads of Arsenal players. He didn't celebrate when he scored against Arsenal. There was all these conspiracy theories. Could they be true? One to keep an eye on, Marc Guéhi. He's got a big decision to make this January transfer window. Another player that Arsenal have been heavily linked with today is Roméo Ritter of Borussia Dortmund. He's a 17-year-old, another centre-back. We like our defenders. We like our centre-backs. Left-footed centre-back who's considered to be a real top prospect over there in German football. The journalist Florian Plettenberg, German journalist, he claims that Arsenal and AC Milan have both been in contact with Borussia Dortmund about the possibility of signing Roméo Ritter. He's got a current contract at Dortmund, but he hasn't currently extended that. Could this be a player that Arsenal move for in this January transfer window? That's Roméo Ritter, one again to keep an eye on. Breno Bidon, a player that I've mentioned before on Transfer Daily. Sport Witness claim that Arsenal have again held talks with his club Corinthians over there in Brazil about the possibility of signing the talented midfielder this January transfer window. Sporting CP over there in Portugal have already launched a £13 million offer to try and sign Breno Bidon. Arsenal are said to be willing to match that offer to try and get a deal done for the talented midfielder. However, Corinthians are said to be looking for something closer to around about £26 million to get the deal done. Again, one we'll be watching throughout this January transfer window. We know Arsenal interested in young talents. A player that's starting to look unlikely that he may leave this January transfer window is Rodrygo of Real Madrid. He actually scored for Real Madrid last night in the Spanish Super Cup, which is being held over there in Saudi. He got the winner in that game. Even though his game time has been very limited this season so far for Real Madrid, and he has changed his agent, and there's been lots and lots of rumors about him leaving, it's still starting to look more likely that he will stay at Real Madrid this January transfer window. Again, more likely that he moves on in the summer. Again, another player who's looking for game time to try and get into that Brazilian World Cup team. Notably in that game, Arda Güler came on in the 81st minute for Real Madrid. Another player that's been linked with Arsenal this January transfer window. I still think Arda Güler this January, again, is very, very unlikely. But again, another player that's been linked. Let's take a look at some of your comments that you've been sending in. I was asking you guys yesterday, do we actually need anybody this January transfer window? Andrew Nichols, 20, says, Robbie, hola, love the show. Just on Rodrygo Mendoza, and this is a player that I mentioned yesterday that Arsenal are heavily linked with. He says, I'm a season ticket holder at Elche. Mendoza really starts, gets a few sub appearances here and there, is a good prospect, but miles away from Arsenal's first team level. 20 million looks way too much, and he would be a long way behind Nwaneri, in my view. That is very interesting. Great to hear from a fan of that club in Elche. This is it. We will hear all these things from a distance, this player, prospect, this. But as I said sometimes, are they any better than what we've got? And, you know, what he's saying there is that, you know, great prospect, but nowhere near Arsenal level yet, and nowhere near that £20 million asking price. So interesting that comes from him. Thank you very much for that. Guehi D says, no player is guaranteed to hit the ground running. As Arsenal fans, we've seen that with Eze and Gyökeres, coupled with players from other clubs. I see transfers as jackpots. We should be looking at players that fit our system. That's the type of player he'd like to see coming this January transfer window. And Triumph59, thank you very much for your comment. He says, Robbie, if we're really interested in making a signing, I feel we would have already made it. Nobody's coming in for us this transfer window. I don't think we can say that yet. It's Andrea Berta. You know, some of the signings that he made last season, I wasn't expecting. I wasn't expecting Mosquera. I wasn't expecting Nkapie. He's been moving in silence so far this January transfer window. I get the feeling he will sign somebody. I don't have a clue who, but it's going to be interesting. The Marc Guéhi one is going to be really interesting to see where he ends up. Arsenal definitely holding a strong interest. Thanks for watching the show today. We'll be back tomorrow. Don't forget to check out all of our excellent content that we did last night around the Liverpool game. Fans had a lot to say, so make sure you check it out. And we'll be back tomorrow. And if you're interested in William Hill's final one standing, the link is in the description to get all the information. Thanks for watching. I'll see you tomorrow.